Welcome to the Golden Hour Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Mays. This is our second episode. In today's episode, we speak with Sidney Diongzon, who's a filmmaker turned YouTuber who's just full of amazing personality. I really enjoyed my conversation with him. The first thing we talked about was the name of this show, the Golden Hour Podcast. All right, we're here with Sidney Diongzon. Thank you for coming to the Golden Hour Podcast. There's supposed to be a big logo right there, but
I visualize it.
null.
I see it. It's good.
Yeah, Golden Hour. What do you think of that name?
I think it's cool. I mean, we all go for the golden hour.
Exactly.
It's like the best time, the perfect time, the best time to listen to a podcast.
It's going to be about an hour long. You could also take it the other way. Like, golden hour is like the best years of your life when you're like really old.
Ooh, going very meta here.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sidney, you're from, we were just talking about this earlier. Where are you from again?
So I was born in Chicago.
Chicago.
But moved out to California when I was about 1. So pretty much, raised here most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in a small town east of LA called Corona, but spent a lot of my time in Orange County at the beaches. I went to film school at Chapman University, but and just kind of traveling all throughout California. And so I'm a true blue SoCal boy.
And you're a married man as well?
I am a married man. I married a beautiful English girl. We have 2 half British,
English is in like, she doesn't just speak English.
Right, she's from Britain.
England.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I got two kiddos that are half British, half American, and half Filipino. Well, I guess that's thirds.
I watched one of your videos. You briefly mentioned you lived in England.
I did,
for a
yeah.
while.
So I moved out to England to be with my wife, and also I'm like, well, why not,
Yeah, of course.
And so what's funny is that when I moved out there, trying to look for a job, I couldn't find a job because I was American,
Really?
which was really weird to me. And so I'm like, well, I need to make money. So I just started shooting weddings, and then I just shot weddings most of my time there. Which
Did that like work to your advantage to be American?
In a way, yeah.
In the way that a British person here is kind of like, oh, they're British.
Totally, yeah. Like, it's. But what's cool about shooting weddings in England is that I had to, because before then, when I lived in California, I'd built up all my gear, all my lights. I had my little home studio with my buddies and stuff like that. And so when I moved out to England, I had to learn real fast, like to have a studio that could fit in my backpack, that I can take anywhere on a train, that I can go do shoots, weddings here, or a commercial project there, that everything I had is in my backpack. So I'm so thankful for my time in England because I'd learned that skill where if I can't fit everything in my backpack, at least the essentials, then, I don't want to do it.
I think it's so valuable to go to other countries in general for everybody, especially Americans, because we live in such a bubble.
Totally.
Every country is different, and the Western countries like England are similar in some ways, but there's so many things that are different.
It's perspective too. Like, like for us Americans, especially, growing up in Southern California, hanging around Orange County. Yeah, we are in a bubble, in a safe bubble, so to speak. And, you have certain perspective on things, but when you go to other countries and you see different perspectives and different opinions, it's so influential and it's inspiring in a way. And so, yeah, I mean, if people get a chance to travel, even live out of a country for a little bit, then definitely do it.
I totally agree. So we're going to get this thing started off with this little segment called One Word Rapid Fire. We've got Rockwell in the back with a timer.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to ask you like a few just quick questions, one-word answers.
Okay, let's
we
do
got
it.
60 seconds. Let's see if we can get through them at 60 seconds. If not, no worries.
All right, let's do it.
All right, ready? Here we go. And Canon, Sony, or Nikon?
Sony.
Do you prefer doing YouTube or commercial work?
YouTube.
Gimbal or handheld?
Handheld.
Do you prefer production or post-production?
Production.
Do you prefer shooting as a one-man band or working as a team?
Working as a team.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
iOS or Android?
iOS.
iPhone XS or Google Pixel 3?
Overall iPhone, for pictures, Pixel 3.
Which do you prefer to take, photo or video?
Video.
Spaghetti with meat sauce or Alfredo?
All of it.
Oh, nice. We did it. How much time we have left? 25
Whoa,
seconds.
There you go.
Nice.
Can we have a competition whoever can finish it the fastest? Like, I want to hold that record.
Oh yeah, totally.
From this point on.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And if someone beats me, I'm going to come back and do it again.
We'll get Jason Vong in here and see what he
here we
does.
go.
Yeah. Cool. So some of those questions that I asked, YouTube or commercial work, you kind of hesitate for a second. Do you still prefer shooting? Like, say you got hired to do a commercial, that'd be fun, right?
Oh, absolutely. I would absolutely do it. And I think the great thing about commercial work is that you are creating a concept. You're creating something from nothing and creating it to this, you're building something, and
Typically have
a
a budget.
story, you have a budget. Yes, of course, you have all that stuff. But the creative aspect of it, it's like you're working with a team and you're trying to figure it out together. And when things don't go, as according to plan on set, as they do,
Yeah.
you as a team figure it out and you come up with a better product. And
Yeah.
so, if I ever get a chance to do commercial work, then yeah, I will always do it.
Yeah.
YouTube, on the other hand, is great because you can just be you can share your thoughts and ideas and, your life really. So on a personal matter, YouTube, definitely wins. But for a creative, then man, I would go for commercial.
Yeah. Dude, I can relate to you so much because when I started watching some of your videos, I really resonated with it because we kind of have a similar personality. I don't know if you watched any of our videos, but I'm a total like nutcase when I get on camera. I'm really heavily inspired by Kai Wong. I love Kai W. I also love Tim and Eric. Awesome show, great
Yes,
job.
hilarious.
I love a lot of that stuff. So I found there's a little bit of a hole in our niche of like not crazy entertainment value with everything. A lot of these guys that we listed, they're all amazing and they are entertaining in their own right. But like as far as the way that you perform on camera, like you're eating a bowl of cereal during the intro or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's totally you, and that's what I love about you. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, thanks. Well, you know what? I learned in my very first vlog that I tried to do about 2 years ago, because I did the whole Casey Neistat thing. I wanted to be this and try to even edit the same way he did.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the lack of views and like the amount of effort that I put into it, and it's like it was just kind of frustrating. Where I'm like, why am I doing this? The video was good and all that stuff, but then it was just so frustrating that I just like, screw it. I'm not going to do the whole YouTube thing. I'm just going to start making content for myself, things that I love to do. I'm just going to be me. And funny enough, the next video that I made started going viral. And so that's when it was like, it was my very first film journal with my son.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I like filming these little micro documentaries with my family. And that resonated with people, I guess. And when that video started getting a lot of views, it clicked at me. And I was like, wow, I just have to be me.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean? Like there's only so many, there's a lot of YouTubers out there. There's only one Casey Neistat. There's only one Peter McKinnon.
Yeah.
And there's only one you. And so, people trying to be like those people, it's not, you're only doomed for failure.
Exactly.
And so, for something like YouTube, the only way to succeed is to be yourself and to create content that you're going to enjoy. Because if you're going to make content that you're not going to enjoy and that you're struggling, then what's the whole point?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So ever since then, I'm like, you know what? I like cereal. I'm going to eat cereal in my intros. I'm going to do it.
Be yourself. It's so important. It's the one thing that you don't want to do when you're in high school, but the one thing that makes you unique as a creative. I love the comedy and the energy that Sidney has in his work, and I think that it's really special what he's done on his YouTube channel specifically. In my conversation with Sidney, I then asked him about a project that really stood out to him that was most impactful.
You know what's crazy is that this whole YouTube thing first clicked back in 2007 when me and my friend made this video for a church we worked at. It was a video about divorce and what it does to families and stuff like that. But then we put it on YouTube, not expecting for it to get many views. But I get this message from this guy from Ohio, and he goes, "Hey, thanks for making this video. Because of that, I'm gonna make things right with my wife."
Wow.
That was the very first time that I saw the power of video.
Wow.
and a platform like YouTube. And so that resonated with me, and where it kind of pushed me to want to do this YouTube channel, because like I've experienced a lot of things, but and I love gear and I want to share my passion, about gear on YouTube, but I want to be able to teach people how to tell these stories so that they in turn can tell better stories than I ever will. And if I can make a little video saying, hey, this is how you rack focus or whatever, and that might click with somebody, but that person might be the next Spielberg, then man, that's the legacy that I want to leave.
You're equipping them to go do what you did with that video or
Totally.
whatever.
Because at the end of the day, YouTube's great and all, but it shouldn't be the be all end all. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, I'm so blessed to have sponsors and all this stuff, whatever, but like, man, like, is that it? Is that going to be my life? Or am I going to pass it down and tell those generations to pass that down?
Yeah.
That's legacy.
Totally. Such a Gary Vee thing to say.
It is. It is.
We both listen to him, so I'm a big fan. So YouTube, we're kind of briefly talking about it here and there. You're a YouTuber.
Yes.
Anybody who doesn't know already. Tell me about what happened when you decided, okay, you know what? I'm a YouTuber. I'm going to go for it, be consistent. I'm going to make content. When did that happen for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think when it all started when we were about to have our firstborn, and just kind of seeing how my wife would struggle throughout the day, and I was working at a full-time job.
What was that, by the way?
I worked at a university, Azusa Pacific University, out in Glendora, or
Nice.
Azusa, California, and so I worked there, and I love the job. It's a great, great, great place, and but to see my wife struggle, through the days, pregnancy and all that stuff, like really got to me, and I just wanted to help and be there, and being Filipino, I grew up with a family of nurses and doctors, and so naturally I just wanted to help out, and so and at the same time I was kind of growing YouTube on the side, and then thinking maybe one day I can go full time. But that was the moment I was like, what, I need to do this.
Wow.
I need to pursue this full time one day so that I can be there with my family. And so if she ever struggles or if my kids get sick, whatever, I can stop filming right then and there and be there for them. So I want to be able to have that freedom. And so that was the moment for me.
Wow. Sidney really wanted to show respect for his full-time job, but it was the creative freedom that attracted him to pursuing YouTube. I then asked him about what it's like to take on all the roles of a traditional film set yourself. Like, what was it for you when you were just the realization of the freedom of YouTube? I mean, it's amazing because you're the producer, the director, the star, the shooter.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing, and when you make something, as a production team, you all share the credit, whether you're the director, editor, or even, PA. But, when you're making your video, you get all the credit and also all the hate.
Yeah, exactly.
Having that said, but, at the same time, like to have that ownership to say that I get to create this as a living, like just nothing more powerful than that. Like it's such a it's such a freedom that you just feel knowing that you just made something, even though it may not be a great video, but you did it and you put it out there for people to like or hate or whatever it is, but you get to put it out there. Because the one thing, and for all filmmakers, the one goal that we have is to have our films distributed, right? You go to film school. After film school, you do the whole studio route and you climb up the ladder, eventually become a PA, producer, director, whatever, in hopes that you might get to know some people in a distribution studio so that you can make films and then be on your merry way. But because of YouTube, that just cut the entire middleman out of it. And so now everybody who has a phone and internet access can make a video on YouTube and make a career out of it eventually. And what's crazy, like, we have these little devices in our pockets and they're really tiny now. It is not only a full-on production studio, but it is a distribution center as well, right there in the palm of your hands. And that is amazing to me. And so, we don't have any more excuses.
Yeah.
It's like, it's right there. Just make something.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that was holding me back was like, well, I'm not going to be able to have the budgets that I'm used to having, $10,000
Sure.
for a music video or whatever. Like, I don't have $10,000. But once you start scaling back and it's like, well, how can I get creative with a slider? How can I get creative with some cheap lighting to make that look nicer, or just shoot on an A6300 or something?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of your big video views are coming from cheaper cameras, cheaper setups, things like that. What are you seeing that people are gravitating towards that for you on your channel?
Yes, totally. And it's funny because when I bought the A6300 and A6500, super tiny cameras, by the way, a lot of people could only afford those cameras because they want a 4K. At the time, that was the most affordable
Under
4K camera.
$1,000 at the time.
It probably still is. And and I think because people bought that, they bought those cameras, they kind of resonated with the content that I made, and were astonished as to how much quality that you can get from that camera by doing certain little things, by getting a prime lens or by using proper lighting and stuff like that, or getting good audio.
Yeah.
And so I upgraded eventually to to Sony A7R III and then to Sony A7 III, but still people resonate a lot more with the cheaper cameras, which really fascinates me, and I love that because there's a lot of underdog filmmakers out there.
Yeah.
And I want to get those cameras so that I can relate with them and show them, hey, this is how you turn a tiny camera into a full-on production camera.
When I was in high school, I learned how to play the guitar. And Eddie Van Halen was one of my favorite guitar players of all time. The 80s rock god from the band Van Halen. I'm sure you've heard of them. But I was really depressed because I had this cheap, crappy guitar and it didn't sound right. It didn't sound like Eddie Van Halen. But then I learned that it's actually not the guitar that matters, but the player behind the guitar. The same is true with Sidney. It's not the camera that matters, it's the creator behind the lens. What is your process when you get a piece of gear to review it?
That's a good question. And there's like a ton
I think we all do it different too.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like in my closet there's a bunch of gear I haven't reviewed yet, and I'm like I need to review this.
Yeah, small rigs like, where's that review?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, what I do a lot of time actually, I start out. If I want to review like a slide or whatever, the first thing I almost always do is listen to music, because sometimes I might trigger something, and so listen to a lot of music bed, a lot of Soundstripe, and so I just kind of just browse through as I would listen to Spotify.
So music that is licensable.
Licensable, yes.
So
yeah, not just copywritten music. It's
Post
just,
Malone.
Exactly, yeah. So I would listen to the music sites that I personally use that I can license through my videos, and and they have mobile apps as well, and so I can listen to it on my way to work or whatever. And so if a song clicks with me, that might, trigger an idea, that might lead to another idea or whatever. And so most times I listen to music that'll inspire me to make the video. Yeah.
Never heard that one before. And then do you actually use the thing, or are there times where you get the thing that just came out, like you have it the day of?
Yeah.
You open the box and just review it, right? Like I do that all the time.
Oh, you mean like unboxings?
Well, like unbox it, but like just read a spec sheet and hold it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got the A7 III the day it comes out.
Yeah.
You know that if you
Yeah.
upload that video today,
Yeah.
you'll get more views than if you upload it tomorrow.
Right.
You're not going to have time to go do a shoot.
Right.
So I guess you call that just a first look.
Yeah, that'd be more of a first impressions kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did a first impressions video on the Z and Weeble Lab. And again,
Most entertaining review yet.
ever. I hope so.
Nice clickbaity title.
Exactly.
It was great though. I love the
thank you.
the background changing cuts and things. It was great.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, those kind of things is normally our first impressions kind of, and then
Yeah.
I think it's fair just to use the product for at least a month,
Yeah.
to have a good idea of what it can do. And so typically, yes, you're right. To get the views, you want to be able to do a first impressions, which is good because people do want to what it looks like, want to see what it looks like out of the box.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people do want a full, thorough, truthful
Yeah.
review of the product. But I think that can be done after you've spent some time with that product.
I agree completely. Caleb Pike is the best. He's the most patient reviewer of all time.
He's so good.
Oh, he's so good.
And he's so sweet.
He just released his A7 III review like last week.
Yeah.
And it's because he spent a long time figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for that because he's not just falling for the clickbait and the quick money or the quick hits, I think in a long-term perspective,
Yeah.
that's the correct thing to do.
Yeah.
Is just make work that you're proud of so that at the end of your life, you're like, that A7 III review was great.
Yeah.
Definitely not going to be thinking about the A7 III when I'm dying. Probably the A7 X.
Yeah. Well, he and Philip Bloom
be
are
pretty
amazing. They
Philip Bloom,
they
yeah.
take their time and review products properly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not that patient.
I
I
know,
want to be able
yeah.
to open it and try it out. It's like, hey, this is cool. You should try this.
Yeah.
In most cases, that works for me. And
Yeah.
but if I do like an update video, that we can always make a video about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get too antsy and I just want to this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is this amazing
I
slider.
have a story about Philip Bloom. Back when he was at his height, I posted a video. I was, I think, 20 years old, 28 now, so it was 8 years ago. And he retweeted it, and it got a Vimeo
Nice.
staff pick.
Nice.
And because of his retweet, it got a staff pick, and because of the staff pick, I had a lot of opportunities handed to me, and I had no experience in professional anything. It was always just weddings and random corporate videos. And it was a little mini doc that I made, and it really taught me that wow, I can actually call myself a director. Saying all that to lead to the question, did you have any moment in your career where you're like, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a director, and it's okay to say that and not be pretentious about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I learned that in film school.
I didn't go to film school.
And I'm glad you didn't. It's very expensive, very, very expensive. I mean, if you can afford it, then by all means. But what I learned in film school, I mean, you go into film school with a lot of people that think they're the best director in the world, and that's kind of hard. You kind of go in and you kind of get your pride taken away because it's like, oh, your video wasn't as good as whatever. But I learned, in my freshman year that that's okay. Fail and fail fast. And once you fail fast, you learn faster. And, once you get over yourself, after you stop crying, then you become a better director, a better person, you become stronger. And so it was until the end of film school, I was like, you know what, I did it. I worked my butt off, and I'm a filmmaker, I'm a director. I'm not ashamed to say that, and I'm going to do what I can to make content, and share it with the world however I can. And at the same time, that's when YouTube started, blowing up. So good timing, I suppose.
YouTube is great because you don't have to be perfect, and like I'm used to being a little bit more polished with commercial work, and that's one of the things that I love about it. Is like you get it out, and there's definitely some mistakes in the videos because of just the speed of the editing that you sometimes have to do, and it's just like it's out and it's done, and that's what I love about it. Is just okay, let's move on to the next one, learn from that, apply it to the next video.
Yeah, and people can forgive it. Like people like seeing the jump cuts, they like seeing all this stuff. It makes your content a little bit more authentic in a way. At the same time, when they see something that's really polished, it's like, whoa, I didn't know you can do that. And so that's why I love YouTube and the community. It's almost like a little mini film school. You kind of get to share your stuff, and you get little critiques here and there, and to surprise them every now and then with some pretty cool gems. It's pretty cool.
Do you have any fans that like are always there in the comments that like say the same thing over and over?
Yeah, always the first like notification squad, and my God, you guys are awesome. So that's always nice. You know what I mean? Like no matter how many subscribers I get, like I will always be grateful for that, and I do my absolute hardest to comment to every single comment. I mean, you'll see in some of my YouTube videos, comments are like 300 and whatever, like half those comments are mine.
Wow.
But that's like replying to everybody because their comments matter to me, and I want them to know that. Like I want them to know, like, hey, thank you so much for watching my video, even though I don't feel it was a good video, or even it got like a few views. Thank you so much for watching it, because I'm really, really, really grateful that my content got to be seen by so many people.
I was so impressed with Sidney's overall gratitude towards just everything in his life. I want to encourage you to think about people in your life that matter, who made a difference, big or small, and show gratitude towards them. For this next segment, we pulled some images from Sidney's Instagram account, and we wanted to hear a story behind that image. So I've got this image here of this little boy. Can you tell me about this image?
Yeah, so that was at a little orphan village in Eldoret, and I wanted to fly a drone, and everyone just loved it. Like, oh what is that? Is that airplane? I'm like, oh, no, this is a drone. And so there were like maybe 200 kids just kind of surrounding us, and they just thought we were the coolest people in the world. And he kept looking at my sunglasses, my cheap little sunglasses, and I'm like, here, you can have these. And so to me, even though this orphan kid in a small town in Eldoret in Africa, even though he lives out there, when he put on those sunglasses, he was like any other ordinary kid, in the States or in England or whatever, and it's like, there's no, just because you're from another country or in a different situation doesn't make you any less valuable than a person, in a different place. And so like, he just felt so cool, wearing those sunglasses.
You let him keep them?
Oh yeah, of course.
So to this day, he still probably is like walking around rocking
I hope
them.
so. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And so that was really cool. We got to fly the drone. I got to chase kids with the drone. So that was really fun to see like just, hundreds of kids running away. And it was cool. Probably one of the best moments of my life, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was really cool.
We pulled a good image then.
You did. Yeah.
Tell me about this image here. It looks like England.
Yeah, that was my wedding.
That's your wedding?
That's my wedding.
I can't tell.
Yeah, that's me.
Can you tell me about your wedding?
Totally. So I actually had two weddings. So I married an English girl.
Oh, I was nervous. I thought you have two wives.
Uh-oh, is this going live? No, so we got married twice. One legally here in the States. We did a quick little ceremony at the beach in Dana Point, California.
Oh, I'm 10 minutes from Dana Point.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we we just got our friends like, hey, we're getting married today. Can you hop in a car, go to the beach? And,
Yeah.
we didn't even get a license. So we just like, let's just, if the cops come up, we'll just have a bonfire.
Oh my god.
It was the
Brilliant.
best. It was like, it was
Family at all there?
family was there,
Parents and stuff?
and so our closest friends were there, and it was like the coolest spontaneous thing we've ever done. And so that's when we officially got married. And then a few months later, we went out to England to have the traditional English wedding with her family and friends and stuff like that. And so that was shot by my good friend Nick Radford. It's funny, that wedding actually launched his career. So he's
Wow.
like traveling all over the world shooting weddings, and so he's doing really well.
Does he live in the States?
He does. He
So he
lives
flew out there for you then, huh?
Yeah, we flew him out, and we've been good friends.
I
And
bet that wedding just looked
was
beautiful on his
amazing.
portfolio.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, you can't get. I mean, foggy London. That's pretty amazing.
It's so perfect.
So yeah, so that was a picture from our second wedding.
I love that you say
Our
that.
second
That was
wedding.
second wedding. How about this image here? What's that from? Do you know? Does that ring any
Oh,
bells?
okay. So that is from a time when me and my buddy got super amped because we just bought our first camera. So we started a production company back in I don't know 2005, but we were so excited that we have money now. Not from our parents or whatever, but we
Hundreds of dollars.
hundreds of dollars. So the first thing we buy, of course, are director chairs.
Yeah.
The most pretentious thing you can ever buy as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
But it meant so much to us because we got to have
Or a
director
slate,
chairs
yeah.
or a slate, but to sit on it and this feels nice. And
Did it
was
have
a
your name on it?
It did. We had it.
Really?
We had it embroidered.
That's amazing. So for somebody who's just now getting started, and this is a question you get all the time,
Yeah.
I'm sure, but someone who's just getting started, what would you tell them? I mean, every parent that I meet that finds out that I'm a YouTuber, usually the first thing they say is, my son wants to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
My daughter wants to be a YouTuber. In fact, I saw online, I think there was some sort of survey or something. Like, it's literally the number one profession that high schoolers
Really?
want now.
Wow.
Like, it's surpassed everything else. It's so trendy. It's definitely, I feel like we're still in the Wild West of it. The big corporations still haven't figured this out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so people like us who just have a camera and a computer, can make a living now. I hope that continues and that lasts, and the corporations don't ruin everything.
Yeah.
But for somebody who's starting out, a high school kid who is just like you, wants to be a filmmaker, what would you tell them? Like, should they go to film school? Should they buy a camera and just start going?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's some advice that you would give somebody starting out?
Before they decide going to a film school, they should consider that YouTube is the best film school in the history of mankind.
Amen.
You can look up anything you want to learn and learn everything, on YouTube for free, by the
Yep.
way. I mean, you can pay for courses by all means, but, everything is on the internet. It's for free. So
That's
if
how
you
I
want to learn,
learned After Effects when I was a teenager.
there you go. See, if you want to learn how to plumb, do some plumbing, then you go to YouTube, right?
no
It's
kidding.
the best university in the world. And, the second thing is to just start filming. And even though you may not afford a camera at the time, just use your phone. Every high schooler has a phone these days. And
Yeah.
so a lot of cameras now have 4K.
Yeah. And if you don't have a phone, that one guy who's listening to this, it's okay. Find one. You'll find one.
Yeah, you'll find one. I'm sure you'll find one somewhere on the ground. Just, pick it up. It's yours. But, whatever you have in front of you, just start filming, and,
Yeah.
and you may not create the best content at first, and that's okay. And you may fail a lot of times, maybe in that first year, but you're just finding yourself. And by the way, you're still in high school.
Yeah.
And so, you're not going to probably figure yourself out until you're in your 20s. And so just start with something, because as a creator, you have to trust in your own evolution as a creator and as a person that you'll get better one day.
Yeah.
But you just got to start.
And one of the things that you said earlier at the very beginning of our conversation that I want to reiterate is that don't copy other people just for the sake of copying them. You can steal ideas from them, but make it your own. And that's hard to say for somebody who's brand new, because all they really have reference of is what somebody else
Yeah.
has done. I know that, I mean, I'm sure you were just like me too, but like when I first started, when I was like a kid or 14 years old, I would just literally copy Spielberg, like with my little VHS
Yeah,
camera, and
totally.
pull like little helicopters on strings and whatever, right? Like not real helicopters, of course, the little Hot
Right,
Wheels.
right.
But yeah, like if you can just be yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that's so easy to say now as an adult and not in high
Yeah.
school. All I ever wanted to do when I was in high school was not be myself
Yeah.
and be the cool
Yeah.
kid, which I never was.
Yeah. That's okay. Neither was I.
So great advice.
Well, I do want to say to that, because I think a lot of it has to do with two things. One, perspective, and the other, probably the most important one, is knowing your own identity. You know, a lot of people put their own identities on subscriberships and all this stuff, whatever, when that's like far from it.
Yeah.
Like your identity does not, is not based on that at all. And I think I made a video about this. I kept getting comments about, hey, you're such a Peter McKinnon copycat, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I made a video, addressing that issue. And, while Peter is amazing and yes, his work has influenced me greatly, we're definitely not the same. And I think it's important to respect creators like Peter and Casey and all that stuff, but also to acknowledge and respect yourself, and that even though that you may not be a Peter McKinnon, on the flip, Peter McKinnon will never be you.
Exactly.
And I think that's the perspective that people should grab on, as they're growing on YouTube or want to pursue YouTube. You want to be able to secure yourself in that identity, be rooted in that foundation, and that way, when you start growing, then you're not going to waver to the left or to the right. You're going to just keep booming straight ahead. Being true to yourself. So, and it's a hard thing to do. It really is.
You know what else is hard is consistency, and that is kind of the secret sauce to success on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you know this, and I know this, and it's the one thing that a lot of educators who are teaching other YouTubers drill is consistency. Whether that's 1 a week, 2 a week, 3 a week, 1 a month, whatever it is. How do you stay consistent and have a life?
I try to. So I have a family, I got kids, so life is very busy. And I have two kids. I try to organize myself. I use an app called Trello, and I kind of have ideas.
That's what we use.
Oh, very cool. There you go. So I use Trello to help organize my ideas and to organize different gear reviews or concepts, whatever, on a calendar. And I try to stick to it as best I can. It never happens, but I try to post 1 or 2 times a week. I should probably get better at it.
Do you post on the same day every week?
I try to.
Me
I
too.
really do.
I don't.
Now that I'm doing live stream, that's a very easy way to create content if I ever need to. But consistency is very important, and that's something that I need to get better at.
Oftentimes, the only difference between a successful creator and a non-successful creator is the fact that one is doing consistent work and one isn't. You can sit and dream and create ideas all day long, and they might be amazing concepts, but if you're not actually executing and creating a body of work, you're going to go nowhere. So if you're listening to this podcast right now and you can resonate with what I'm saying, you're not doing anything about the ideas you have in your mind, then I urge you to go out and make it happen. In fact, this very podcast is me executing something that I've never done before. I've never hosted a podcast before. The set that we're using still isn't even completed yet. And the format of the show is probably going to change over time. But we're doing it, and we'll figure out the details as we move forward. My interview with Sidney was actually the very first episode that we've ever recorded. Internally, I was wondering if Sidney was enjoying our conversation, and thankfully, he told me how he was feeling while I was looking over my notes. I'm just looking through my notes here.
This is fun, by the way.
Oh yeah. How is this going? Any notes?
No, I think this is great. I mean, especially that you guys gonna edit it. I mean, I think you're capturing the vibe of the fun conversation, and that's what it's about. You want to be able to capture a conversation. Yeah. And so I think you guys are doing great.
Thanks, dude.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so this question is, I love this question because I came up with it. No, I'm just kidding. If you could have a collab, or if you could hang out with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Wow, that is such a good question.
You can collaborate with them. You can work with them. Somebody that inspires you. Somebody that's alive today. Whatever you want.
Oh, wow.
You can give me a list too if you want.
Okay, yeah, a bunch of people are coming to mind. I would absolutely love to have worked with Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He, like in film school, I was just blown away by the stuff that he did. And even though it may not be on par to the stuff we see, in movies today, just the techniques that he used at that time just amazed me. And I'm more interested in the reaction of people than the actual movie itself. But like just to read up on the history of how people reacted to his movies, like Vertigo and Birds, like it's just inspiring, and it just floored me. Like, wow, you created all this suspense, with a black and white camera or whatever. And still you just captured people's hearts and attentions.
There's so much to learn from composition of older films. If you look at the 20s and 30s, 50s, all that, because they didn't have jibs and Steadicams back then. And so a lot of the composition that they were using was so creative, and the movement of actors and going from point A to point B. If you have a slight pan to the left, that's perfectly choreographed with the actors, and There's so much to learn there.
Oh yeah, like Wes Anderson does it like so well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's why his movies feel so nostalgic almost, because nobody really, well, that's not true. There are other filmmakers that do it.
Yeah.
But it just feels like an older film.
Yeah.
Because he's using those techniques.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that
Yeah,
comes to
so
mind?
Alfred Hitchcock, Chase Jarvis, he is an amazing
He's still
photographer. He's still alive. Yes. Chase,
Very
if you're
much
listening, we
alive.
love you. Yes, very much alive. He was probably the first YouTuber to make me want to do YouTube. He started making these little how-to videos, like, hey, this is how I pack, this is how I organize my stuff. I'm going to a Nike shoot. Here's how I'm lighting it up. And I'm like, this is huge. Here's this, huge photographer giving free advice on the internet. I'm like, I kind of want to do that too. And so to meet him one day and to work with him one day would be an awesome, like, full circle kind of thing for me.
Wow.
So I'd love to work with Chase Jarvis. And then I would love to work with Peter McKinnon, mainly because I have a bone to pick with that guy.
What's your bone, if you may?
So I made that
divulge.
video. I'm not Peter McKinnon.
Yeah.
And so he commented back saying, "Hey, dude, this is hilarious. We should collab." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, let's do it." Haven't heard back since. And so Peter, if you're listening, let's collab. Buddy.
He will be listening. We're going to have him on.
Oh, good. Good. I hope he responds, and I hope he doesn't beat my little, one-word competition thing.
Yeah. I have a little bone to pick too. Not a bone to pick, but a funny tidbit. I used to be a magician. I was a full-time illusionist for about 6 years. I met him at a magic conference, like literally 8 years ago. And we really hit it off, and we were buddies on Vimeo.
Oh, okay.
Because he was working for Illusionist and Theory 11, which were these huge magic websites. And that's what he was doing before YouTube, by the way. He kind of mentions it every once in a while, but he knows that a lot of people don't know what those websites are. But like, we're both magicians.
That's cool.
So yeah, and we were friends for a while on Vimeo, just acquaintances.
Sure.
And then, like, he started getting really big.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, bro, like, great work, awesome. Like, nothing, no response. But it's because he gets probably 1,000 comments, and he doesn't remember me, I'm sure. So
I'm sure he does.
Oh, we'll hit it off.
He's awesome. I love the guy.
Yeah, he's great, and I think he's a great case study for us as YouTubers too.
Yeah.
Because, like, he proved that in 2018, in his case 2017, you could still go from 0 to 1 million.
Yeah.
Like, it's still possible.
Yeah.
And not only that, but, like, he is a niche. Like, it's our niche.
Yeah.
It's not just like Logan and Jake Paul and Liza Koshy, who are just flat out entertaining and, like, for a younger demographic. He is literally the demographic that we all have. So it is possible. I don't know exactly how he pulled it off either, because I guess there actually are, like, millions of filmmakers and photographers out there.
Which is awesome, because now that YouTube has become a platform for every one of those people to share their work. And so Peter and Maddie and all them, like, they kind of just leveled out the playing field for the rest of us to make it possible. And that's something that I think we should all be grateful for.
Totally.
And it's just amazing that to see it, in my generation, my time, like, wow, like, this is the golden age of YouTube. Like, anybody can be anybody and do anything on this platform. And so it's people like them, Casey, of course, Gary V, and it's
Levi, our friend Levi.
It's
crushing it.
I'm making, like, really great friends on YouTube. Like, some of my closest friends are from YouTube.
I know.
And so, like, Jason Vong, like, he's one of my good buddies, and I I have this game to
You
play.
gonna hang out with him while you're here?
Yeah, we'll hang out later this weekend.
Sweet.
I have this game. Well, he doesn't know it yet, but the first time we met, I wanted to do a YouTube collab with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, dude, you want to go in a helicopter with me? First time he's ever met me, and he
Did he say yes?
He said yes. He goes, okay. I'm afraid of. He told me on the day of, I'm afraid of heights. I'm like, oh, dude, I am so sorry. You can back out anytime. He's like, oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
So now I have this little game to take him to all these little places. I want to take him bungee jumping and skydiving one day. He has no idea unless he's listening to this.
Any last words to the audience? I mean, we've kind of gone over a lot of things, talking about storytelling, talking about starting from scratch, giving back, serving in different fields. Anything that you'd like to say to anybody listening to this that inspired them?
Yeah, that's a good question. In fact, it reminds me of a little story of when we moved to Texas. We were, kind of shopping for decor and stuff like that. And so we go to the shop, and my wife's buying all these things. I'm just kind of walking around like, okay, whatever. But then there's, like, this pillow hidden in the corner. It was like this dirty little pillow, and it said, "Live a good story." I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Then I started walking around the store. But every now and then I'd kept going back to this pillow hidden in the corner. And I just kept looking at the words, live a good story. And it kind of impacted me so much that I had to buy it. It wasn't just only for display. It wasn't for sale. I'm like, I need to have it for my office. And so I took it home, I put it in my little YouTube home studio, and I just looked at it, for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, man, that is like my life motto from this point on, to live a good story. And so whether that means something for a person to do a lot of nonprofit work or whatever, or to start a business, or to go to medical school, or whatever it is, whatever you decide to do your best to live a good story, and to pass that story on to your kids so that they can pass that on. And man, like right now I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. But yeah, if that's the last thing I can leave, live a good story.
Wow, I think we have a show title right there.
Hey, there you go. You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Sidney Diongzon, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Likewise.
I think we're going to be friends for a while.
We will be forever.
Yeah. Forever and ever. All right.
Thank you.
Live a good story. What a great message for every single one of us to take away from with our interview with Sidney. We want to thank Sidney Diongzon again for being on this show. If you want to follow his work, then I encourage you to go check out his YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's just Sidney Diongzon on YouTube, and we have a link to his channel in the description below. We want to hear from you about this episode of the Golden Hour podcast, so comment below and let us know what you thought. What was something that Sidney said that really stuck out to you, or what is something that you want to tell me to change about the podcast? Like I said earlier, this podcast is actually evolving and constantly changing, so we want this thing to be the best it can be for you guys. Once again, I'm Dave Mays. This is the PolarPro Golden Hour podcast. See you next time.